Greetings, my freaks and geeks. Welcome to another episode of the Square Roundtable podcast. Thank you for joining us tonight. We have the honor of speaking with an educator, a mangaka, a professional boxer. Put a Square Roundtable round of applause for Mr. Kofi Bazzell-Smith.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, brother. Welcome.
Appreciate the invite. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're happy to have you out here and joining us tonight, clearing your schedule and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I appreciate it. So how have you been? We usually do a mental health check for all of our guests. So how have you been mentally?
That's cool. I've been all right. It's been stressful. There's a lot of deadlines and stuff around this time in the fall because I'm in graduate school right now and I'm in my final year. Like I just had a 4-day job interview out in New York last week. And I had to skip class to go, so catch up stuff. And it's good, but it's a lot of stuff right now.
You got a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yeah, it's all manageable. It's just a bunch of little stuff. You know?
No, that's cool. What are you getting your graduate, or what is your graduate thing on?
Yeah, so it's an MFA in new media, and it's weird. I would like to study manga, but you can't in the US. So that's what I'm trying to change, which is why I went to school, because you need the graduate qualification in order to teach. So yeah, I picked a program where it's pretty open and we can just, work on our individual projects and stuff. So I have time to focus on drawing manga.
Yeah, I when I think about what you're trying to do and put manga out there on a bigger spectrum.
Yeah,
I was always wondering, like, how do you do that, like, education-wise? But yeah, there's no real American way to do that. So did you
Yeah.
Oh, good.
No, go ahead.
So did you go to Japan or something like that and learn from them?
Yes, that's exactly what. So I've been drawing manga since I was a little kid. I just taught myself. I watched Dragon Ball Z on TV.
Of course.
I was just like, I see the Roshi shirt. I was just like, I'm 7-year-old, and that's what I'm gonna do. So I just started drawing comics, and then my parents started buying me manga. So that was like my first sort of relationship with art. I didn't read any American comics or anything. It was straight to Japanese manga. Then I got to college after I dropped out and stuff like that, and started studying Japanese. And eventually I went to Japan to go study manga because you can't study it here, after I learned enough Japanese to be able to study in Japanese. And I've trying to build a career going back and forth to Japan and working with folks in the manga industry out there and trying to bring stuff here.
Yeah, I saw
other people.
Yeah, I saw on your story, I think it was like yesterday or earlier today, that you were like reading panels in like Japanese and then reading it in English, and I was like, that's so cool.
That's the story I'm drawing right now, actually.
Oh yeah. Tell us more about that.
I got it right here. So I'm working on it's hard to see because of the blur, but it's just a storyboard. So I'm working on a new piece right now. What's nice about my graduate program is all of us artists in the program do completely different type of stuff. We got some people doing 3D sculptural work. There's only 2 of us that draw. So I'm able to just do whatever project I want. So I'm always drawing like a different one-shot manga, like an entire story in a single chapter each semester. So now I'm drawing a story that's set in the future about a robot boy that's a boxer.
Yeah, I noticed that from your storyboard you were doing, like that it was like in the future, and it was like robots. I forget what it said, but he was worried about the robot. He was worried about his fight with that robot.
Yeah, so
and hurting the opponent.
Exactly. Yeah. The scene before, he beat up his opponent really bad. Basically, in this story, it's like a utopia for humans. But then I'm just thinking about at what cost. Robots are the workers. They're the service workers. They're like sex workers. Basically robots are getting the black experience is what I'm trying to
there you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah,
peel them layers.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
Humanity is like the new whiteness in this future. So we've escaped the human condition, but we've given the human condition to robots. So robots are also all the entertainment and the athletes, and they're being used. And the story is like about the commodification of the body. And through my experience as a boxer, knowing what it's like sort of behind the scenes, how you're just a piece of meat or like an object for the audience. And I decided to talk about that and using a robot that has like a child body so the audience will respond more to it. Just AI, like the Steven Spielberg movie. I'm thinking of that.
Yeah, me and
Yeah.
Chad talk about that
Yeah.
movie all the
I
time.
love that.
That's
Yeah, I
a
just
that's a
rewatched
good
it a
one.
few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta go back and watch it because I haven't seen it since I was
Yeah.
a kid.
It was
Yeah,
on YouTube. I checked again and I didn't see it, but a few weeks ago, the whole movie was on YouTube for free.
YouTube. Yeah,
Yeah.
it probably didn't like found its way on the streaming service. Whenever that happens, some streaming service probably didn't picked it up.
They're like, I need
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the
because when you
project
would
this semester.
yeah when you was describing that, I was gonna ask, have you ever seen this movie with Hugh Jackman called Real? I think it's Real Steel or something like that.
Oh yeah, the real
It's
steel.
like
They're
he a
doing
shadow
some fighting
boxer,
stuff, right?
huh?
No, I think I heard of it. There's some kind of robot fighting thing, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
it's like he's shadow boxing for robots and stuff. But they more like actual like mechanical
Yeah.
like metal and they
Yeah.
fighting. It's not humanoid like robots.
Okay.
It's like more
I
mechanical.
see.
Yeah,
it's
but
more
they
of like
use them for the entertainment. Like people don't box anymore, so it's robots now that
I
box.
see. And they're just
Yeah,
exactly.
mimicking the movements of the humans.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like
like
they
you'll
wear
be
like
on
a
the side.
headgear.
Yeah,
That
and
sound
then
like
you'll like
G Gundam.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I never thought about that. It does
Hey,
sound like
that sound like
yes.
G Gundam.
Yes. Wow. See, now I gotta go back and watch that, and then go watch a little G Gundam to
Do a
confuse
comparison.
them.
Yeah, I never watched that whole show, but I used to catch it when I was a kid.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah. Huh? Oh,
Oh,
he
I
froze.
can't hear
Okay, he
you.
froze a little bit.
Oh,
Sorry about that.
no, it's all good.
yeah. My thing is I have terrible Wi-Fi. I'm sorry.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that Star Wars effect where he's like glitching in and out.
Oh yeah.
Whole thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey,
Exactly.
it
I
goes
got
with the
the. I got
sci-fi
the.
theme.
Yeah. I got
Yeah,
the
it goes right with
cannon.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Definitely.
Oh, I was gonna ask, since we're on boxing, are there any boxing like anime or mangas that you had like heavily influenced your manga?
Is there? I got like about 90 of the books of Hajime no Ippo right here.
Yes, I knew it. Yes,
Demetrius loves it.
yes, that's my
Demetrius love
favorite. I
that.
love that.
Now
Yes.
I think I'm frozen.
Yeah, oh, you're a little frozen. It's okay,
Oh.
but it's still on the image of Ippo on the cover.
Wait, it works.
Yeah.
I guess it froze.
Yeah, it froze, but it's okay. But no,
Should I
like
stop the camera and go back, or
you could, yeah, try that. Let's see if it unfreezes.
nope?
No,
Okay, that's
no.
weird. This is
All
not
right, you're gonna be promoting Hajime Ippo. For
okay.
the
All
podcast.
right.
But no, that anime slash manga is just really good. It's super
It
good.
is.
Like
Yeah.
it takes you from the perspective of like Ippo, who was bullied like his entire life, or he just let people bully him, to becoming like this great boxer. It's such a underdog story.
Yeah. It's really good. It's really solid. I haven't read all of it. A friend gave me all the books like before he moved, and he had like almost 100 of them. So I haven't really
Oh.
gotten through them. I don't know what's going on with this.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, with the camera at all, dude. I don't know what's
I
happening.
don't know. My Wi-Fi is supposed to be strong, man.
I guess today it got into the
thought-
Marcus effect, man, and the galaxy far away, right?
Yeah, apparently.
Man, it's
But-
always some kind of technical thing
It is
every
yeah.
time.
Always something.
Yes.
It is. It really is. But
least we
like,
got a
I won't. Go ahead.
At least we got a picture.
Exactly. At least we got a still image. It works for now. Like we're gonna
It work.
let it sit there for a little bit
All right.
and really soak in.
I gotta ask you though, Kofi. I don't know how much of a boxing fan like you are, like, or what era of boxing you into, but who is like one of your favorite like boxers, or the top three, or just people you like to watch, or somebody you like to look at before you fight, or something like that?
Yeah. I like Mayweather. I like
Okay.
Juan Manuel Marquez a lot. I really like Errol Spence. I
There
like
you go.
Love Crawford, obviously. I've been watching a lot of Shakur Stevenson lately. Just the way he controls his opponents with the jab, with his hand out, keeps that stick out. Meldrick Taylor, back in the day. Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, that's
Come on now. Have him and Roberto Duran?
Duran's
That
a monster.
fight right there,
Yeah,
man.
that was,
Man.
Yeah. They both monsters.
Yes, bro. I love. Of course, I was more like a heavyweight guy. I liked all the heavyweights.
Yeah.
But I love like Sugar Ray and all them. But I was like Tyson, Ali,
Yeah.
all of them. I love Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Mike Tyson was my dude. Like,
Tyson's a monster. I mean, those superstars, yeah.
woo, man, that
Yeah.
uppercut, bro.
Nasty. Both sides. Both uppercuts, yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
Tyson
man.
was a
Yes.
monster. I think Tyson Fury was named after him.
Yeah, that's dope. He was
Yeah.
talking about how his dad named him after him, and then he's fighting somebody who he's training. Like, that's what you call full circle.
That's wild, yeah. I mean, he might be a little. That might feel a little weird that Tyson is in the opposite corner, but I hope he gets
I
to talk
know.
to him after or something at least.
Yeah, I definitely do, man. But
Yeah.
I it's so cool to see. It's funny how like you see how boxing has changed so much and how it's evolved.
Yeah.
Like through the years and decades. Like when my granddad and them was around, they was like, man, back in the day, them dudes used to get in there and duke it out. Wasn't none of that running around. Like a lot of older guys really don't like Ali because they was like he used to run around.
I know.
He didn't fight. I was like, man, he was graceful. What you talking
Right,
about?
yeah. That's strategy. That's strategy. That's hit and don't get hit, which is the whole. That's the whole rule.
Yeah, exactly, man. Man, Demetrius, you gotta stop me, man, because I sit here and talk boxing with him all day, man. I love me some boxing,
man. Because I'm here loving all the outside like perspective. I'm here for it.
Boxing, anime, all that stuff.
We can talk anime for. I can talk anime for days. That's my whole thing. I'll talk the anime for you.
I can talk about both all day.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let's do a side point. We can come back to the boxing afterwards. But I gotta know what's your top three animes you like or manga that you like? Top three.
Anime or manga?
Let's do both.
All right. My favorite manga is Monster. I got Monster. I can't show you because I'm still showing you High School Musical.
Let me see if I can figure out something, man. I gotta figure out this.
Maybe at some point, man. I don't know if I should exit out and come back. I don't know what's going on.
We could try that real fast.
All right, should I do that? Should I leave the studio and enter back in?
Yeah, try that. I'll bring you back in.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna
every time
intermission.
It never fails us.
I'm gonna cut this all out, by the way.
It's the bloopers. Man, I'm gonna call AT&T tomorrow, bro. Like,
oh yeah, AT&T is trash, by the way. I already gonna let you know,
bro.
They are trash. Let me make a marker at the 14-minute mark. Need something to write something down. Give me a marker and a pen. I'm gonna write this down so I can cut this out of the podcast.
Ever since they didn't give me that fiber thing, my internet and everything has been acting up. And they talking about it was supposed to make it better.
I don't trust AT&T with that. Like, I don't even trust.
No, I didn't trust them when they said it. I knew they was on some BS, but I was like, okay. AT&T they know the only reason I'm still with them is because I get HBO for free for a lifetime. I mean, I ain't gotta pay for Max. If it wasn't for that, I would have been left AT&T.
Man, you gotta ain't a selling point no more. You gotta have decent Wi-Fi, man.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, at this point, I just might just go ahead and pay for it myself. Cause I ain't finna sacrifice my Wi-Fi now. I need that. That.
Me neither. I'm frozen. Is it working again? Nope, I'm glitched out now. Oh man. Wait, did it? Okay, I'm back. All right. And he's back.
There we go.
We on the phone now because for some reason my laptop don't want to work.
Oh, that's perfectly fine. We're gonna make this work.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna do what we do, man.
Yes, indeed.
We can hear you clearly, by the way.
So okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. But what you were saying, your top three was one was Monster. Oh, did it happen again? What's going on here? Oh, I gotta cut out from 16. We're gonna do 16 onward. But we're gonna make it like the asterisk here. I'm gonna have to cut some stuff. Clip, snip.
Boy, you're gonna have to do some snippety snips.
I'm a snap.
What's gonna happen?
I don't know what happened. What happened, dude?
That was me trying to. I'm not gonna touch nothing. That was me trying to full screen it so I could see better. But I know we here. All right.
Yeah, don't worry, man. You'll see it after the fact. That's how we'll do it.
So Monster. This is my favorite manga. Naoki Urasawa. I love his stuff. He also did Pluto, which is a dramatic retelling of Astro Boy, the Osamu Tezuka
Oh
classic.
yeah.
Dragon Ball
There
and
we
Z.
go.
Dragon Ball.
Hey, okay. I
Um,
mess with it.
I like. Let's see. What else I got here? I really love the first Gundam. Actually,
Okay.
the very first Gundam, which I got they started the Gundam Origin manga, which came out way later, but I
Hey,
like the
that's heat.
1979 Gundam.
Yeah. I gotta ask you this, Kofi.
Mhm.
With Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, don't get me wrong. Dragon Ball Z is like epic because of like the
Mhm.
storylines and the
Mhm.
Super Saiyan saga and all that.
Mhm.
But people always get on me because I say I like Dragon Ball a little better because story
Yep.
wise,
Yep.
it was a little better to me. So
Yeah.
like, how do you feel about that? Because I saw you pull out the Dragon Ball instead
Yeah.
of Dragon Ball Z first.
You know what? Yeah, they are different things. It's a part of this. Yeah, I do think Dragon Ball is better, but I think I have more of a connection to Z because that's what got me in everything.
Yeah,
But I
same.
think Dragon Ball is more the style of Toriyama. That's
Yeah.
his thing. And Z,
Yeah.
he went
Mhm.
off and did a new thing. So y'all know the history of how he came to do Dragon Ball?
Wasn't he trying to adapt like the story of the Monkey King or something like that?
Yeah, so he's adapting the story of the Monkey King. Son Goku is Sun Wukong. I got the Monkey King tattooed on my arm. That's one of my favorite stories.
Hey,
Yeah.
okay.
Nice.
You know,
All right.
I grew up in Chinese Kung Fu. But
Dope.
anyway, Toriyama was a comedy mangaka. He won, I think, a Kodansha Award for Dr. Slump, straight up comedy. And he decided to make fun of the shonen action genre. So that's how he
Yeah.
started with Dragon Ball, to make fun of the genre. And it ended up becoming like the standard. But early on, I think you can tell he's just having fun. And that's like where
He
it's really
was.
him. So
Yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, and I agree with you. But I personally like Z more because I was like, that was me at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Nostalgia factor.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I can agree with that because, like you said, I think for a lot of us, especially like the '90s, like early mid '90s,
Yeah.
the black kids who really didn't like. We knew what anime was because, like, if we went to Blockbuster, we always remember that
We know
section.
where to
But we
go.
didn't.
We know where to
Yeah,
go.
but we didn't really understand what it was for. We just was like, "Hey, this looks cool."
Yep.
That was like the first thing to push us in and be
Yep.
like, "Hey, this is a whole new world that y'all need to know
Mhm.
about." So, like you said, when it comes to that, it's always gonna be Z because of the personal connection. But
Yep.
then, because I think that's what a lot of us went through. We saw Z first,
Yep.
and then we saw Dragon Ball,
Same.
and it was
Yeah,
like,
we all did. Yeah.
"Oh, okay,
Yep.
this is a little, this got a little bit of juice in it right here."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think Dragon Ball, now that you mention it, I think that's much more like a Toriyama flavored work. Yeah.
definitely,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
So
I don't know. Tekken 3 is hard though, because Full Metal, Mob
yeah.
Psycho.
Oh
It's
yes,
tough.
come on now. Give Mob
Yeah.
Psycho some love.
I love
Nobody gives
Mob
Mob
Psycho.
Psycho love.
I really like. I'm waiting for season 2 of Ranking of Kings.
Oh, I haven't checked that one out, but I heard
That
it's
was
good.
surprisingly good to me. I really like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard it was good. And everybody, that's their
Mhm.
top. That's in their top 10 of the year for sure. Like for most
See that?
people.
Yeah. What y'all mess with?
Hmm?
What y'all mess with?
Demetrius, I'm gonna go first because Demetrius,
Okay.
Chad, and Josh, they always get on me because like they be talking about all the new anime and this and that, Full Metal, and I'll be like, look, y'all, I love anime. I just didn't get deep into it because what happened with me was it was Toonami. So
Yeah.
when I got Toonami, whatever they showed, that's what I got. So
Yeah.
after that, I didn't stay too into it. And I
Mhm.
started getting more into like comic books and
Yep.
the movies and stuff. And then I love film, so I'm a film nerd too. So
Oh,
like I started going on that path, and I
yeah.
didn't get a chance to keep up with it. But I
Mhm.
always had like buddies in high school, middle school who would keep me in the loop, so I would know what's what. But
Yeah.
when it comes to anime, I'm more like old school because Toonami showed a lot of old school stuff. So like
Mhm.
Cowboy Bebop,
Sure.
Gundam. That's why when you said Gundam, I was like Gundam, Yu
Hey
Yu
man,
Hakusho.
I got the Wing Zero.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
let's
So it's
go.
like Yu Yu Hakusho,
Of
Yeah.
course.
Big O,
Of
Big O
course.
was
Inuyasha,
dope. Big O was
Yes,
dope.
it was. Yes.
Samurai Shampoo.
Oh yeah.
Even later on, like Afro Samurai. And then we always got to count for America, we can brag about this. We had Pokemon.
Oh yeah,
That was like our thing. So I've always been in it. But as far as like to really keep and get deep down, and like when they be telling me stuff, like I be feeling bad because people like, do you watch anime? Have you ever seen any Studio Ghibli movies? I'm like, look, don't shun me. I'm still new to it. I gotta catch
not
up.
to stun you, but you might have to check some of them out. I ain't
No,
gonna
I
lie.
definitely do because I love the cinematography of all
Yeah,
of those movies. Like
yeah.
it is beautiful. Like
And
I
Ghibli's
could just
different.
look at it for days. Yeah.
Yeah, Ghibli's different because Miyazaki don't even like anime. So
When I read that, I
Right?
was like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah. Ghibli is different. It's different.
Yeah.
That's more, I guess, I would say, film in a way. Movies are also different than shows, anyway.
Oh yeah. Most
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
definitely.
what, what about you, Demetrius?
Oh, so if anybody knows me, they know that I'm gonna say One Piece. Of course, that's my
Oh, he
like.
loves
Okay.
That's
One
my.
Piece.
Okay.
I've watched, read everything about that show. I've done so
Wow.
many deep dives and stuff
Wow.
like that. It's like one of my favorite shows.
Yeah.
I mess with Bleach a lot because Bleach is really
Okay.
good to me.
Okay.
I mess with Naruto.
Mhm.
Really, I mess with a lot of the main shonens like Fairy Tail, Full Metal,
Mhm.
Brotherhood, and the original Yu Yu
I've only seen
Hakusho.
Brotherhood. Okay.
Brotherhood's good. Like, I mean, I would say watch the original and then go into Brotherhood because they expect you to already know the main stuff about it. They just retell like from
I
like certain
see.
points.
Okay.
Dragon Ball Z, and I've seen the rest of the Dragon Ball Z sequel things, but I don't really talk about them because like
You mean like
GT's
Super
not
and GT?
GT's not canon, and
Right.
I get why, but they had juice when they put out Super Saiyan 4 and they just threw it away. I
I
got it.
love Super Saiyan 4. I'm not gonna lie.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
Super
Yeah.
Saiyan.
That
That,
was cold with the come on with the chest fur.
Exactly.
when
Something
you ask,
different.
if you
Yeah.
were to ask somebody about what a Super Saiyan God is, I'm telling you, they're gonna say Super Saiyan 4 above
Yeah.
Super Saiyan or whatever.
It's a
Oh
better
yeah.
design.
It's a way
Yeah,
better
definitely,
design.
definitely.
They
The
just
fact that they
changing
grew
hair
their
colors now.
exactly.
Yeah, they
That's
just give the
that's all they
rainbow
doing.
colors.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, and then I've done Jujutsu Kaisen for
Okay.
sure. That I love Jujutsu Kaisen.
Mm-hmm.
Berserk for old school Berserk for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Griffith, we don't like Griffith around this area. We're not a team
Griffin is a
Griffith.
horrible person, but
He
he's a
really
good. He's
is.
a good
Oh,
villain. He's a good villain.
he's a good villain for sure.
He's a
He came
solid
from
villain.
yeah. He came out. He had ambition. He followed it through the entire thing, but he didn't have to do it to
He,
guts like that
he does
in
have
front of
follow
him.
through. Hey, he ain't really lied to him though.
He never did. No,
Oh,
he never did. When you think about it, he never did. He was like, "Hey, I'm out for myself. You guys are
yeah.
just here to help me
Yeah.
out."
Yeah.
I just think that was dirty what he did to him. It did right in front of him like that.
Oh, that's the
Like
dirtiest thing you can do to somebody. Pretty much. They don't get dirtier than that. This
I really don't, man. I would have been.
man,
I understand the anger that he has towards him after
that
that.
was
I was
rough.
like,
Because I saw the 3 movies, and I remember in the third movie that was rough.
it was
Yeah.
rough because they didn't hide nothing. They didn't like censor nothing.
They
You
did
saw
not.
all of
They did
it.
not.
Man,
Yeah.
I was so done. I was so done.
Hmm.
Shoot. I'm trying to
Have y'all
think.
seen the original Gundam? Not Gundam Wing, but the first one.
Yeah,
I
they used to.
haven't.
I used to. How did I see it? I can't remember exactly what it was. I want to
Mhm.
say like I remember seeing it like on TV in the video store or something. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
remember seeing it somewhere, but it's like
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, like the original like
Yeah.
1970s like
Yeah.
anime style. And it's funny because it's so funny how you can tell what decade anime
Oh,
is just by
yeah.
the art style because it's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
like to a
Yeah.
certain like you know
Yeah.
what's the 60s, you know what's the
Hmm.
70s, you know the
Hmm.
80s. And that's why it always tripped me out when I was a kid. When I got older, that I found out that Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z was like 80s, 90s.
Oh,
I was like, dang,
Mhm.
this stuff is old. But
yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I love those styles. And I was gonna say interesting because I think one of the first like papers I wrote in college, I can't remember if it was college or what, but I forgot what class it was. But I did the history of animation,
Wow.
and
Okay.
the book I got in the library was about anime, and
Hmm.
I was writing about how it was talking about how Astro Boy was really what made America step their game up in
Yeah.
animation because they saw what they were doing in Japan and how clean it was and the animation and stuff. They was like, oh, we
Yeah.
got to catch up with them. So it was
Yeah. Yeah.
like this
Yeah. Yeah.
battle. But
Yeah. That was.
I always said, because I always go back to when I was in middle school and I had a buddy who was, like I said, I always had buddies who was in the anime, and he was so good, Kofi, at. He was so good at animation. He was so good at animation. And 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 he was so good at doing like these little comics, like you just said, those one shots,
Yeah.
and he could just, and he loved like anime, Legend of Zelda, so he like used to fuse like Legend of Zelda with Yu Hakusho and a little bit of Dragon Ball, and I used to just sit there and just watch him like make the story, because that's the thing about manga is like the storytelling and all that. Like a lot of it, you can just look at the pages, and some of it don't have words, and it's just so beautifully written and drawn, and the story, like the story is told. And I know for you, that's like a big part of it, like the storytelling as a genre.
Yeah.
So like, how do you like get into it, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah, what's interesting is manga. So you were talking about Mushi Studio that did Astro Boy, and that was Osamu Tezuka. So he did the manga, but he also did the anime for it. And he really, so not only did he revolutionize anime, but he revolutionized manga. So he was the guy who invented speed lines, like those lines in the background. And what's interesting, Tezuka really liked Disney, and he really liked American film. You said you was a film buff, so you might appreciate this. And based on manga theory and manga storytelling theory, for example, I got a book right here. This is real beat up. So Kyoto Seika University is a university in Japan. It's the number one research institution for manga. I studied under a professor there 4 years ago, and they have a manga storytelling textbook. So this is a textbook that's all about manga storytelling. It's made in-house by the faculty there, and they're teaching their students how to tell manga stories, but they're referencing Hollywood throughout the entire book. It's manga is all about American cinema techniques. It references film. So when I think about manga storytelling, and when I like research and like study for manga storytelling, I watch movies. And Tezuka revolutionized manga, because before, comics in Japan, it was just like you read the Sunday papers and it's real flat. And like what Tezuka did, if you look, I know Astro Boy looks really old now, but if you look at it compared to other stuff coming out before, he changed the camera angles. Like there's actually a film going on. He zoomed in, he zoomed out, he made it dynamic. So what we have today, we owe all that to Tezuka. He's considered the god of manga, or the godfather of manga, of modern manga, because he made it look like the Western films that he enjoyed. And that a lot of that is in this book, and you can read stuff about Tezuka. I'm not sure if that completely answered your question, but I guess the point is storytelling is a lot like American cinema.
That definitely answers, because I always go back to that. Like whenever I talk anything about manga or anime, I always go back to that, because that was like, I remember like actually reading about the history of it, and it was so interesting to me, because I was like, I didn't know how much they was influenced by, like you said, about Disney animation and stuff like that. And it's crazy to just see how he took that and just elevated. And like you said, gave, because even with the Disney films, it was like 2D and it still was a little flat. And the fact that, like you said, he took different camera angles, and especially like with Astro Boy, because he was flying. So, you know, he played with that, how it would look to fly. And you just seen how that changed and revolutionized like animation, just period. Because you start getting like stuff over here, like with the Superman cartoons and all that kind of stuff. So it's like that's why when people always try to separate the two, and what's anime and what's animation, it's almost like they the same, because they all like were influenced by each other. So it's like
they all influence each other. Exactly.
Yes.
And comics came to Japan from England.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know.
there's a Englishman by the name of Charles Wergman who came to Japan in the 1860s, and he established the very first in Japan in 1862 in Yokohama. It was called Japan Punch. So back in the day, when Japanese people, they didn't have the word for comics, they called them punchy, because they just called them punch, because all they had to reference was Japan Punch. It was still like how we have like in our Sunday papers and stuff like that. So manga, I always, when I talk about manga and stuff, I recognize it's a very Japanese thing, but it wouldn't exist without Western influence. It's a combination. It's a combination. There were literally no comics. They had words and pictures in the same, like in a relationship with each other, because there were these books in the Edo period in the late 18th century called kibyoshi, which translates to like yellow books, because for like printing press back in the day, they didn't have text like we got A, B, C, D, E, F, G. They had all these complicated kanji. So they couldn't make all like the printing presses for it. So they actually had to carve their words into the same like block as their images. So they had early like word and text relationship, but Charles Workman introduced word bubbles to Japan. Yeah, so that's when comics first came here. And that's something you can't deny. Like it's a intercultural form to me.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. It's so cool that like I was talking to Marcus before, like it's so cool that like with the new there's a new Superman show out and it pays nods to anime and stuff like that. So it's cool that they're noticing what their influence was on Japanese animation and stuff like that, and then they're paying homage to that in their show.
I love that
so
back
cool.
and forth influence, honestly. Like they don't exist without each other anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like-
I think that's real cool.
Like when I seen Superman go with like the Sailor Moon transformation,
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Like I was like, I didn't never think I would see something like this, and I didn't know how it would work, but it works.
It does, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's so cool. I hope that continues to be a thing, like that they both borrow off of each other's thing, because it's definitely bridging the gap between the cultures. There's not really, it's never been a gap, but now you can't deny it. Like you said, you can't deny that there is, this linear kind of thing instead of a divide.
Yeah. There are some folks, because I'm getting more into the academic stuff, some folks in like comic circles and like comics and academia, they just don't mess with manga. They don't like it. And I think it gets denied in a lot of, so comics get denied in academia a lot already. In the art world, it's hard enough. But then when you get into comics, nobody really wants to talk about manga either. And I think that's unfortunate because it's like, we on the same side to me.
Nah.
Exactly. Like I was talking to Marcus and everybody else, and I was like, it's crazy how you can have a difference between people that are into Disney animation and people that are into anime. Like Disney anime people a lot of people that I know that are animation fans will never touch anime because they just think it's different. And I think it's because they're so used to Disney and like that child being like a child storytelling to them that they can't see it as just a vehicle for telling stories. And that's a shame.
I say folks that's blocking like one thing, they're just missing out on a whole lot of art.
Nah,
Agreed.
They are. They are. I'm talking about some beautiful art too. The scenery. I just love how they capture like those moments. Like a person, a director that I love is Tarantino, because sometimes he'll have those those manga moments in his film, like in Kill Bill. Was it Volume 1? Yeah, but the first one. When Oren and Beatrix, I always say her name wrong, but the bride, when they had that fight at the end, and it's like he has a scene where they like standing off, and then the little water thing it like drips, and then they make a move, and then it gets silent and drip. That's something straight out of like an anime or manga, and it's like it just. And when you read mangas, that's what I love about it. Like what was the one I was looking at? Just like different mangas, like what was it, Lady Snowblood? Yeah, and I was just like looking at the panels, and I was like, bro, it's not that many words, but it's like everything is there.
Yeah, it is.
Everything is there.
I was actually just checking that out a couple weeks ago. That's funny you mentioned that. I was just perusing through a library, and I had never read it. I was literally just looking at those pages of Lady Snowblood a couple weeks ago.
It's a film too. It's a film about, I just started. I watched a little bit of it like last year. I gotta finish it up, but it's really good. Like it's like those samurai, like assassin ninjas.
Yeah.
This is dope because it's a lady, and she just like slicing and dicing through people, man. So
I gotta check that out. I'm really into movies too. I like to learn more, obviously, because it's good research for storytelling.
Oh no, most definitely, most definitely. So if you ever need some films, man, you just hit me up. I got you. I got you.
He's got films for days for sure.
Yeah, man.
The one thing I love about manga is that a still image of an emotional thing can tell you so much without there being audio or anything like that. You can look at a panel and just know exactly what this person is going through. And that's something that a lot of people, like you said, are missing out on, that kind of storytelling because they scoff at it,
Show don't. It's more so show don't tell. And that's why it's more. So what's funny is like this is something I've been thinking about. I don't know if anybody's really explicitly written about it. But when I look at, and it's different because when you say American comics versus Japanese comics, that's getting harder and harder to decipher because everybody's mixing and borrowing. Because
Yep.
I draw manga, but I mean, I'm American, so I draw American comics, and there's a bunch of
Yeah,
Americans,
exactly.
so it's hard to say. But if you look in like the 60s and 70s when they were still really split, there's some key differences that you can notice. Like in American, I'm talking about like classic superhero comics. There's a lot of medium shots, and characters are often drawn the same size. And whereas manga is changing camera angles a lot, and there's a lot more text in American comics. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's different. I'm not trying to hate on American comics, but I think it's not trying to not be a book. And I think manga is like more a movie. And that's what I see as a key difference. You can't really say that now because, it's different. But yeah, I don't know. I think also, so I don't know if y'all knew this, but I brought a Japanese mangaka to the US earlier this year. I got like a big grant to bring this mangaka, Kazuo Maekawa, to the US. And he did a 2-week residency here, and I was like the interpreter and stuff like that. And he taught a bunch of workshops, and I was the interpreter for the workshops. And one key thing that he said when he works with students, like US students who are trying to draw manga, is they have too much text in their word bubbles.
Yeah, you got to limit it.
Too much. It's too much words.
That's interesting because I used to. That's funny that you said it because I used to hate to have to do word bubbles like when I was a kid and I tried to make my own little comics because I was like, man, I feel like too much talking. It takes away from the action and this like the story and the emotions. And then when I got a little older, I did a little short. And this is kids, don't do this when you're in college. Pay attention in class. But I did a whole one shot and it was no dialogue. It was just straight like action and close ups and stuff like that. Because I wanted to see if I could execute it, what I was thinking in my head without saying words. And I was like, yeah, it's cool to have, like you said, it's cool to have dialogue because sometimes you gotta have that conversation and the interaction and let people know what's going on in the world. But it's like when you don't and you execute it so well, it just makes it just, oh man, there's so much fluff on it and just put the cherry on top.
Yeah.
It comes out so beautiful. Like you said, with American comics at first, there was so much, hey, I got bit by this and now I have powers. Now I gotta go get money. They were talking you through the whole thing. And it's like with mangas, you see it happen and you feel the emotion, like they'll show them sweating, the pupils might dilate, and it'll be like a close up like this or something. And like you going through that emotion with the character, so it's okay. I know what's going on. Like I got the feeling now. So then when they rise up, it's oh yes, that's what it is. It's like that. They're part of storytelling, and I know you can relate to this too, Kofi, as far as like when it comes to studying it and going to school and stuff. Like for me, like I said, I went film and then minored in art. So yeah, so I did. So I learned a lot of writing techniques and like you said, show don't tell. That was like one of the first things they told us like with writing. And it's like when you apply that to like any kind of storytelling, it really helps because a lot of people like you to give them the fluff of what you're trying to do with your characters instead of just telling them because a lot of people don't like to be told something because it's making you feel like you spoon feeding them and not making them like feel a part of the story.
Yeah, it takes you out of it. So now I got to read, or now I got to access my brain. Yeah. I will say though, what's funny, the only one that I know that can get away with it, because this is it seems like the reason you like that and that you was making stuff like that is because you like movies. So it makes sense that you like movies. The only one that I can imagine that gets away with that, Quentin Tarantino's got some cold dialogue.
Oh yes.
They just talking.
That's a good movie. And like you said, they talk it and it's in one place.
But his dialogue is it's good. It's masterful. So So I think it's a very rare case where like you can do solid storytelling with a lot of talking and outside of Quentin Tarantino. I'm not too sure.
I know, right? Exactly, man. But just as far as like you studying and as from an educational point with manga and teaching and that, what's the end goal? Not even the end goal. What's the thing you like working your way towards with that? Because I didn't even know you could go into that kind of like field with it. I always thought it was something that they would never do when I was in school.
It doesn't exist. I'm trying to make it.
So you trying to be the
Trying to make it.
innovator? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and it's been tough because it's funny because the academy and school and stuff, it can be, they talk about inclusivity and racial justice, all that stuff a lot. They talk about it for everybody. But when you try to introduce a non-Western European art form, nobody, well, not, I shouldn't say nobody, because I've had a lot of great mentors and supporters. It's so difficult for people to deal with that. And it's been very interesting in undergrad and in grad school. But I remember in undergrad, because I went back to school late. I went back to undergrad when I was 28 years old. I already knew what I wanted to do. I had already been to Japan. I already came to undergrad speaking Japanese at an intermediate level. I had been to Japan. I had already studied there. I had already worked jobs and stuff like that. So I knew what I wanted to do. So what happens with a lot of kids, y'all might know this, kids who are in art programs that draw anime and manga characters, they get shut down.
Yeah.
I've met too many. I've dealt with it. When I was 19, the second time I dropped out of college, I dropped out 3 times. The second time I dropped out, I decided to take art for the first time. And my professor yelled at me, said, "I'm tired of you drawing these big-headed cartoons." It's a real thing. I've met so many people. Every time I travel around the country teaching and talking about manga, I have so many kids flocking up to me like, "Oh my God, they don't let me draw this." And like, it's difficult and it's funny. I don't think people realize it, but they're uncomfortable with it because it's not a part of the canon, right?
Yeah.
There's observation. When you think about art history, first thing that comes to mind is Italy, 14th century. That wasn't the first time somebody drew a picture.
Man.
Well, that wasn't the first time somebody drew a picture. And perspective wasn't invented by Italians, right?
Exactly.
That's linear perspective, which is great. Love linear perspective. I use it all the time. But ancient Chinese landscape artists were using atmospheric and aerial perspective a very long time ago. You can look at Japanese Heian art in the 12th century and before. It's an isometric perspective, which you can see multiple views of a scene at different angles, something you can't do with linear perspective. It's a different way of depicting reality. I'm saying all this to say, like, one of the main difficult things when I say I want to draw manga is, one, they'll say, "Oh, you're culture appropriating because it's something from a foreign culture." But if I draw something that's French or Italian, they won't say that because whiteness doesn't exist as culture to them. That's white supremacy. But if you do something that's not white, then you have to qualify it in some way. And 2, it's just so foreign to them that they don't know how to deal with it. So it's been interesting, but since I came in as an adult and knowing what I want to do, I've been trying to break down these barriers. I've taught a couple of manga courses at the University of Illinois, where I'm in grad school already. I'm teaching another one in the spring, and I'm getting like flocks of students. Because it's funny, a lot of, and it's not just manga, it's also comics and illustration aren't considered like art in a lot of these places. But that's because it's pop art, it's media, it's for entertainment, it's not, I don't know, intellectual, whatever. But how come all the art students that apply to school, they got all these illustrations and comics in their portfolios? So I think,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Finish your point. I'm sorry. I didn't know you were still talking about something.
No, so that's been my experience, but it's been mostly good. And my end goal is I want to be the first professor of manga practice in the United States.
Hey, man, I like the sound of it.
Yeah, man, I like it too. Yeah,
I love the sound
keep
of
going.
Thank you.
I'm gonna be like 30 in your class. I'll be like, I'm just here just to take a class.
Exactly. It's like the way that I feel like Scorsese talks about Marvel films and stuff like that. It's not to be considered film or cinema because it's not from the old thing. So it's like the same kind of concept as, oh, this is something that isn't in a museum or something like that, or something that we've had many of years to cultivate into this thing. It's something brand new, and they just can't, and people just can't, or people that scoff at what you're trying to do, they can't understand that times are changing, or that there's more ways to tell a story than what we've already done. Things evolve.
Yeah.
and it's respected in its storytelling. Like we've talked over this entire podcast about how it is and how it tells a story and how much
Yeah.
stuff you can get done through the media of manga and later on animation. You can look at a manga and get all the emotion you want, just like you can look at a painting and take
Right.
your own kind of perspective from it. So
Yep.
like I feel like a lot of the older people just need to get out of the way. Let us go.
One thing that's helped me is artists like Naoki Urasawa, because manga and comics can also be very serious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. Yeah,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
it's a subgenre of the manga entirely. There's an entire genre for adult mangas and stuff like that. Just there's your shonens, your shoujos, and all these different things for kids and young adults and stuff like that. It's just like movies. It literally is just like movies. They're just books.
Yeah.
It's really weird how people who read books will be like, "Oh, manga, that's childish. That's da da da." And I'm just like, "You're reading a child's book over here. What do you mean? You're reading Harry Potter. What do you mean?"
Exactly.
I had an interesting. I've dealt with this a lot. So in my program, we have advisors, but we don't pick our advisors, and it rotates every semester. So I keep getting a new advisor, and it's always the first thing they're like, "So what's manga?" And my advisor this semester, who I just started meeting with a few weeks ago, it's so funny. He was like, "So what's manga? Is it like Pokemon?" And I'm like, "Why are you advising me, bro?" Like, yeah, it's like every semester I have to teach somebody that this is form and all this stuff, and it's
that's crazy, and it's so funny. Like finally hearing like someone else talk about it, like from an art standpoint, because that's a real thing that a lot of us like artists go through. Like when we go into our art program, like I started out with art before I switched to film, and it was what you described was one of the main reasons I changed to film, because when I took my first drawing class, I was doing just like you. I was still drawing like cartoonish because that's how I learned how to draw, watching cartoons. So like that was my anatomy of like drawing was cartoons. So like I could get the idea of what they wanted me to do, but like when it started coming like people, it was like, oh, your stuff looks so like cartoonish, and it's I like if you could make it a little more realistic. I was like, I'm trying. This is my first time taking a real class about art, and it wasn't until I got to my last couple of semesters when I was at Georgia State that I had a professor that actually appreciated it. And he was like, you know what, man? I love your style because it's like, it's not that realistic. It's animated. He says, and he would give me tips instead of like shaming it. No, don't do that. He's like, just look at a perspective. And I was like, that's cool because it's like blending in. Yeah. And it's like, the reason why I turned to film is because I kept hearing the cartoonish. And then it was like, while I was at the professor I had, she was comparing people's styles. Like for a final, I did a Boondocks thing, and everybody else was like doing all like these spectacular pieces, and she was like, "I don't know, it's not. It's so animated and it's cartoonish. I was looking for something a little bit more." I was like, "See." I was like, you know what? Bump this. I'm gonna just flip it to film, and because film has always been my first love, you know. So I flipped it, and when I got to state and I could minor it, I was like, okay, cool, because I already took it. And then when you said the thing about Italians and stuff with art, I was reminded of that when I got this to my last two semesters because we had to take an art history. I was like, oh, here we go again. Saw the Italian Renaissance and Da Vinci, and I was like, God.
And they'll sprinkle a little bit of Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera.
A little bit, just a tiny bit, just a tad bit, you know? And I'll be like, why can't we never start at like that era of the 80s, 70s with Basquiat and what's my boy who was his friend, the white guy who did the little people. I forget his name.
Dang, I know what you're talking about, the AIDS thing.
Yeah, him. I
don't know his name.
I forget his name. I'm forgetting his name right now. Chad is gonna kill me for that. Keith Haring. Keith Haring.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, man, it's
just because they're just regurgitating the same information.
Yeah, and I get it. It's like it's a curriculum and blah blah.
I don't know because I've been building classes now. You can change if you're not lazy.
Yeah, see, that's another thing. That's another thing. Yes.
Yeah,
that's another thing.
Everybody gets trained by the person before them who got trained by the person before them. And one thing I've been learning about school is like all they do is they just copy pasting ideas and theories.
Mm-hmm.
And if you try to do something different, I think it's hard.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
see, that's why I appreciated a lot of my film professors, because each one taught something different. I never got like the same, even when I took them like more than once, I never got the same kind of class from them. It was always different. Like it's like with my film genre professor, he did like sci-fi, fantasy, and then when he did intro on the film, he just broke it. Like they try to make it different because that's what film is. It changes throughout history anyway, so they make it feel fresh every time. And like you said, with art, it's almost so copy and paste. Like we go from here, sculptures, to the big Renaissance buildings, and then the chapels, and
Man.
I wonder. I don't know the history of film, but I imagine it probably went through a point where it wasn't considered high art. So it probably has that experience, and that's probably why your professors are more open to new things and switching things up. Because I bet film went through that point where it wasn't respected.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, definitely, for sure.
Definitely. For a good minute, because people was like, oh, I was, for a minute, they didn't even think it was going to last. They was, oh, this is just bad. And then when it went to sound, it was like, oh, that's not going to work, because nobody wants to watch you and try to hear you talk at the same time. And it's crazy to hear stuff like that, because look at it now. It's like something, it's one of the most famous, recognizable things in like multimedia, like with film.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to hear it, so to hear it as an art form now, and like people consider it as art, is like it's dope to see that, because for me it's it's a blessing, because I can like just play with both of those like fields. I can just go from here to here. So it's very refreshing to hear you say the things you were saying, Kobe, because I went through college and I experienced that stuff as an art in film major. Like and like you said, I had a lot of friends that drew like manga style, and I would just see like their spirits get crushed from like hearing stuff like that. And I was like, nah, man. I was like, keep doing that, because it'll pay. It's somebody's gonna see it. So don't stop drawing like that just because they tell you you're not gonna pass the class or whatever. So it's so important what you're doing, because it's a lot of kids coming behind us that's gonna need that. So we didn't get it. Even though we didn't get it, it's good for the next generation to have it.
Yeah, exactly.
So my hat is off to you, brother. Keep
Thank
it
you.
up, man.
Yeah, keep
We
it
definitely
going.
supporting you.
100%.
Keep it going. I'm really trying to make something happen.
Oh, you will. Like I say, it's not trying. You're gonna do it.
Oh no, you doing it, man.
We
you doing the
believe.
hard part right now.
Yeah, right.
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough.
Talked about some good stuff. We talked about your education.
It's been good, man.
And you didn't broke some stuff down. You didn't introduce us to some things we didn't know that was going on behind the scenes. Because I always joke with Demetrius and say, I'm not going back to school, because the only reason I need to go back for the master's or something is if I want to teach, because that's required for you to teach like at a high level. And it's funny when I heard you say that, because I was like, yeah, he going on a path I would go probably like later on in life or something if I want to go back and teach. I I really appreciate how, and that's what this podcast is about, because Chad and Josh, they're graduates too. I think Chad is working on his doctorate.
I think it's either doctor or PhD.
PhD.
I think it's
I forget. He been in school so long, we be forgetting what he on.
He tells us every day, every year. He's like, I'm going for another one. I'm like, okay, man, what is it this
time?
The
madness.
And he was like, I'm done after this one. I was like, I don't think you are, dude.
He keeps going, but
nice.
But yeah, man. But yeah, like on a serious note, like it's so important to see a young black man getting their education, using it, applying it to stuff, and trying to make the changes around, like Demetrius with his education and working with children. You were trying to make a whole new kind of field to go into as far as school. Me trying to apply like my film and stuff to different stuff. It's just refreshing to see us doing this, because a lot of times they don't give us that spotlight. And this is why we do what we do here and interview people like you, because we all educated black men and blurs at the same time. So it's just a beautiful thing, man. So that's the one thing like I'm always happy about when we speak to people like you, because it's it's very refreshing and enlightening to have those conversations, man. So we definitely appreciate what you're doing, bro.
Same to me. Hey, same. Yeah, I feel this has been real generative for me, man. I really appreciate it. And just, this is like the community. This is the community that, I feel like we've been looking for maybe since we was younger. We adults now. And it's like, we out here.
We here, man. We ain't hiding no more. We ain't got to hide at the table in the corner no more.
I love it, man.
Yeah, this has been a great podcast. I've been loving every bit of this. And I had to ask, what advice would you give for someone that is, coming after you, or someone that's in the same area as you in manga and stuff like that? What would your words of advice be?
It's cliche when I say don't give up, but maybe I can break it down a little bit. There's going to be a lot of people who question what you do and don't believe in what you do, but instead of just not giving up, you got to get good. You have to get good. You have to get technically sound. You absolutely have to be technically sound so your work is undeniable. I think that's the only way, especially if you're doing something that other people don't like or they're unfamiliar with. You got to be good. And what that means is you got to use your resources. You got to put in the work. Don't just believe in yourself. Like, you got to work, try. And a part of trying is like, you got to make some trash art and just keep making stuff and keep trying things. And you're going to be up at 3 a.m. You're going to be drawing something. You hate it, but you got to get it done anyway and move on to the next thing. A lot of if you're trying to do like the academic route, I don't know other stuff. It might be the same. It's connections that you make. You do got to make friends and ask people questions. I think you got to make friends, because making friends has gotten me paid even within this, because this is an industry too. They try to like it's not. This is an industry too, getting grants and stuff like that. That's from knowing people. So I say be kind and be open and make real, genuine connections with people. And you got to be dope. You got to get dope. And if you're not dope, everybody can get good at drawing if you spend the time on it.
Yep.
Yeah, like they say, 10,000 hours on anything, you become good at it. Like, you just gotta, here's the thing, and I'll say this, because with our podcast, like, you have to continue to keep going, because at the beginning, you're not going to be good. But it's the time that every single time you hit record, or every single time you pick up that pencil and you draw something, you get so much better. You get 1% better,
Yeah,
1%. Exactly, 1%, one little nick. And then you have to just, when people say you can't do it, you have to be like, all right, man, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do it. I'm going to prove you wrong. Like, you got to put like you said, you have to believe in yourself, but also put the work in, because those go hand in hand. You can't just
be okay with creating things that are trash, because it's going to be trash for a while until, honestly.
People,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and people gotta understand. They look at these people like like the Stan Lees and the Scorseses and the George Lucases and Akira. They look at all these great people and what they've done, but they gotta remember, these people didn't just hop up out of bed and just made it overnight. Like, this stuff it's a slow process. It takes time. It takes practice. It's a craft. You have to. It's a talent. Like, you have to work on it, just like people who play sports. You have to practice and work on it every day. And that's what I think, that's what a lot of people miss out on. They see the after effect of what all these people have done, because they have been around, especially for people like us. They were born before us and older than us. So they were established by the time we came up.
Right.
But these people went through like the trenches and everything to get there. So once you see that side of it and you understand that, it's just like, hey, it's a little slow grind. It's gonna be some hurdles. It's gonna be a few times where you be like, but like you said, you keep at it, man. Because with me, I get better at writing every year because I keep practicing it. Because it's a hard thing to do. That's hard to do. What you do, drawing. Of course, I know because I draw too, but I don't draw as consistent as like I used to. But like, for what you do, that's something you have to keep doing. Like, drawing is something you have to keep doing. And it's very tedious, but you have to keep doing it and doing it. But so I think, like you said, your advice, that, like, even though you say it's cliche, don't give up, but that's like the best advice ever, because it's very true. It's very true.
I think so. Yeah. But just also the realistic aspect is like, you got to put in that work and you got to make some trash. And I think it's more so Instead of just you got to work hard and get better, you got to be okay with your stuff looking like being not good. And
Yeah.
until
Yeah. Yeah.
the part
Yeah.
Yes.
is the thing
Yeah.
and presenting it that's not that good.
Yeah.
That's the,
And I learned that 2019, that was my last semester. Like I got to the point where I was like, hey man, they gonna get what they gonna get at this point.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like this I remember my art professor in my watercolor class, she was like, are you gonna do something else to it? I was like, no. I was like, I think it's okay.
This is me right now. This is me right now. Yeah.
This is my best right now. This is where I'm at with it right now. I'll
Ain't
get better.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
man,
It's not gonna happen. Like you say, it's not gonna happen overnight. You like, I think a lot of people, like you said, expect stuff to happen overnight. Like whether they're like in what are we do podcasting, whatever. They expect like their first video to like blow up, and when it doesn't, it discourages them because
Exactly.
that was what they wanted to do. It wasn't because they have that like drive or that dream to make it happen. And you have to just believe in what you're doing, like wholeheartedly and to the end, whatever that leads. You have to be ridiculously insane about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
man.
I agree.
So with that being said, Kofi, man, the floor is all yours. Tell the people out there what you're working on, what you're doing, what you got coming, whatever you can talk about. Just the floor is yours, man. Go ahead and give it to our viewers, man.
Okay. All right. I'm working on another one shot right now, which is a robot manga about boxing. It's about commodity of the body. I'm going to exhibit it in the spring. I just curated my first international manga exhibition featuring Black artists in the United States, Japanese artists in Japan. This Black and Japanese cross-cultural connection through manga.
Okay.
There's about 20 of us, and I want to keep taking that exhibition around, try to get that going. I'm applying for a Fulbright, which is due in a few days. That's my big goal. So if I get it, I'll be working with a manga scholar in Tokyo for a year, studying manga under him. He's the former assistant of my favorite artist, Naoki Urasawa. When the application's due in a few days, I had to get like a letter of affiliation. I had to apply to this Japanese university as a research student, and I'll find out in April if I get that. If I get that, I'll be back in Japan for a year doing intensive manga training. I'm also applying for jobs in case I don't get that, because my broad goal is to teach manga so I want to publish manga in Japan. So that's why I make works in Japanese. But my big goal is I want to share the knowledge that I've been gaining, and create like the first manga program in the US. And later on down the line, I want to get in touch with some donors, something I've been working on. I want to figure out a way to send Black kids to Japan to find fun.
Look, there you go.
That's down the line once I figure out some funding and stuff. Yeah, that's what I'm working on now. I'm curating and shopping this group exhibition. I'm working on a one shot right now, applying for a research opportunity in Japan, and applying for professor jobs. Yeah.
Hey man, there you go. Look, like I said, man, we behind you, bro.
Thank you.
We are
keep it going,
100%.
man. Definitely.
And if you want to see all of this stuff that he's working on, you can check it out on his Instagram page at kofi.manga. That's kofi.manga.
Yes, check it out.
It's right down there on the little.
It's got a little banner right here going on with all the stuff. So
my website is same thing. It's just kofimanga.com. Just no dot.
There you go. So Dimitri, you know what time it is.
Promotional.
There it is.
There it is. He did it. If you want to catch this video, you can catch it on Fandom Limb at Square Roundtable Pod at fandomlimb.com. That's squareroundtablepod.fandomlimb.com. And if you want to see it visually, you can catch it on YouTube at the Square Roundtable Podcast. Comment, subscribe for sure. Hit that notification bell on the right side of the video so you get notified of this video and future videos. Comment down below anything that we talked about in this podcast. Did you know all the inner manga fact that he dropped in this podcast? Because I surely did it. Talk down there about that. If you've checked out his stuff on his Instagram, show him some love down in those comments. We love to see it. And hit us up on our Instagram, our Twitter, and X, and that pesky Facebook group. And with that being said, I am your host, Dimitri.
I am Marcus Long.
and you can
Go ahead,
usually
Kofi.
this is where you say, yeah, so you gotta
know
say
who you
yourself. This
is,
is where
man.
usually where you drop in your stuff.
I'm Kofi.manga.
And this has been the Square Round Table podcast, and we are out.
Oh, and before we
Peace.
go out, before we peace out, I gotta say one thing.
Okay,
We're gonna put
bring
this
it
in the
back.
universe. We're gonna put this in the universe right here. That is Professor Kofi.
Let's go.
Yeah, there we go.
And now we are
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Peace.